In our kitchen, we have what I refer to it. I don't know if anybody else refers to it. I refer to it as our heritage wall. Okay, we have pictures of our family. Okay, now this is my mother at 3 years old. You can tell my grandmother liked to spend money. This is for 1938. Was a pretty expensive picture to have done, almost color. Okay, this is a woman that bore me. This is a woman that raised me. I love her. So she gets the biggest picture. Now, this is a picture of my father. I could pick him out in a line up any place, okay? You probably can't see these pictures, but I'm just showing you. These are usually on our wall. I had to go through and dust off the top of all these pictures when I brought them over today. I tried to scan them into the computer and they all scanned. They just all came out blacker than black. So, anyway, this is my father and my mother. These are my children's grandparents. These are my grandchildren's great grandparents. But you know what? Then we have Laura's side of the family. And they're always second because they're Laura's side of the family, right? So this got a story with this picture, okay? This picture is of my mom, my mother-in-law Bernie, and her sister Esther. And pretty much you could look at them and know exactly who they were, even though they were like 15 and 16 at the time. Now, on that particular day that this picture was taken, they were supposed to go on a field trip at school. But something happened there on the farm and somebody overslept or something, which never happens on the farm, right? But anyway, they missed the field trip. You know, they were late. They couldn't go on the field trip. So their mother, we'll see her picture in a minute, okay, took them over to Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, and had a professional take this picture. So that's that's Lincoln's great grandmother. All right. Now picture was taken in Chicago. This is where my father-in-law was from, Chicago, Illinois. No stories on the back. Laura has some stories on the back of some of these pictures. Many of you knew my father-in-law. He is a member of this church, and so was Bernie. So here we have, these are my grandchildren's great grandparents, Laura's parents, my in-laws. Now I'm going here. So we're going into my great grandparents, but this is kind of a segue because this is my great grandfather. And you know what? As a child, he looks exactly like he did on the day he died. Not really, but I could spot him in a crowd, okay? This is his parents also. Now, there's an interesting story that goes with my great grandfather because he came over from Germany. And when he got, I don't know if they were Ellis Island or whatnot, but when they were coming through immigration, they asked him his name, and he says, "My name is Hans Mueller." And the guy there wrote down John Miller, and he says, "You're in America now. Your name's John Miller." So that's how the Muellers became the Miller. And I'll say this, they called him Jack. And then my grandfather took the name, his name was Olaf here, Othel. That was his name, okay? Othel, Ola, and Olaf. Those were the names of my great grandparents' children. Are you with me, Jim? Have I confused you yet? Okay. He had his name legally changed to Jack, but he kept the O. So those are the first two generations of Jacks in my family. Then my dad was Jackie Ray Miller. And then my brother became Jackie Ray Miller Jr. And then my nephew became Jackie Ray Miller III. And then my grandnephew became Jackie Ray Miller IV. So we've got like 6 generations of Jacks in our family. And it gets confusing because I was lining up things for my brother so that his grandson can introduce his new daughter to his great grandfather, my brother Jack. And I'm trying to explain things to Laura, and she go, "Okay, wait a minute. What Jack are you talking about?" And I finally said, "Okay, 4, 3, 2." Okay, so I stopped using the word Jack and I just started using numbers. Okay, so Laura, I used to be able to pick your grandmother here, and I just don't know if I can anymore. That's how old I'm getting. Okay, can you pick out which one she is?
Absolutely. This is my grandma. Or excuse me, this is my grandma.
Ah.
Honey, this is my grandma,
Uh-huh.
and that is my Aunt Grace.
Oh, that's Grace?
And Jimmy is here with the hat on,
Okay.
and my Aunt Isabel is in the back row there. Where
Okay.
did she go? It's grandma's family.
Okay, that's Emma. No, that's Irma. Irma. Okay. She was a sweet lady. Yeah, that looks like her. So, anyway, that's going back to our grandparents. But let's go to my great grandparents because this was, let's see, this was Granddad Stevenson. They called him Steve. I don't think his name was Steve Stevenson. I really don't know what his first name was. He was Granddad. And this is Granny. Okay, now, this is Grandma Graham. That's Dolly, your grandma's mother. And who was a mail order bride?
She passed away,
Okay, she passed away.
and then my grandpa, great grandpa, ordered a mail order bride.
And we used to have her picture on the wall, but I don't know what happened to it. But anyway, this is your grandma Graham. Dolly was male, not Dolly, but she was replaced by. There's more. There's more stories about her than about her great grandmother because she passed away fairly young, I guess. So anyway, that's our heritage wall. These are the pictures on our heritage walls. And the kids will come in and they say, "Well, who's that?" "Well, that's my dad." "Who's that?" "Well, the one on the left is your great great aunt Esther, and the one on your right is your great grandmother, uh, Bernie." Okay. Sometimes I gaze at those pictures and wonder how these people became threaded into the lives of my grandkids. Okay, because it was a combination of Laura and myself that became who they are today. You know, Solomon refers to them as the crown, the living proof of generations before us, continuing the story of our family beyond who we are today. Now, Proverbs 17:6 says, "Children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children are their fathers." Now, today we're going to look closely at this verse and see just how grandparents and parents and children are important in God's plan for the family, and how God wants us to honor, learn from each other, and love each other. Let's explore this verse with three main points, okay? The first one being children's children are the crown of old men. Now, keep in mind, Solomon was writing these proverbs to his son Rehoboam. So it's written in the masculine, but you know what? If he was writing it to one of his daughters, it would be in the feminine. And many translations today, they will go and they will say, children's grandchildren are a crown to the grandparent. And I don't have a problem with that, okay? I have a lot of problems with a lot of translations, but I don't have a problem with that because it's one that can be interchanged both ways. Solomon was writing. Okay, I did all that. Now, what does a crown do? Well, a crown is worn by a king or a queen. It's a symbol of honor, it's a symbol of pride, and it's a symbol of joy. In scripture, crowns represent something special. It's often a reward. We look in First Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24 and 25. We see that uh, the winner of the race receives a crown. In Revelation chapter 2:10, we see that there is a crown awaiting those that endure to the end. So crowns are also rewards for things that are accomplished. Now, why do we say that children are a crown? Well, they're not literally a crown on our heads, but I look at it as they're a crown on our hearts. When a grandparent looks at their grandchildren, they see their legacy right there. I remember when I first met Ivy on the day that she was born, and I looked down at her and just looking at her, and she was sleeping like a baby. And I just couldn't help but grin. And I remember to this day leaning up against the glass and looking down at her and thinking to myself, I have to lose weight or I'll never see her get married or I will never meet her children. It's only taken me 17 years to lose 35 pounds, but I got there eventually. Actually, I've lost a lot of weight in that span of time, but that was my motivation. I wanted to see her grow up. I wanted to see her grandchildren. They remind us of our own children, raising our own children. It's almost like we're reliving it again. In a way, we're almost feeling like we're reliving our own childhood. Children bring laughter, and they bring new memories, a sense of accomplishment. Laura and I went to each one of our granddaughters Emma's basketball games last spring. And even though she was always, I honestly, between the Logan and the Miller blood, we got, well, they got DeMacella's blood over here. But between the Logan and the Miller blood, she was every game she was the shortest one on the court. But she was tenacious. Every time she would steal the ball, my chest would stick out. Every time she made a good pass, I would just look up in the air. Now, their team wasn't that good, and sometimes they didn't even score. It was their first year. And maybe this year they'll have a better year. But I tell you what, every time she did something right, my chest went out, my nose went up. I went to go see Lincoln in a play here. What players are they called? What? Clarkston players, okay? He played 4 different parts. He was a cop. He was a plus size store owner. He was a dancer. He was the principal. It was Hairspray, okay? I'm wondering, how can he how can he memorize all those lines and how can he, actually remember to play it this way for this guy and that way for that guy? I say, man, that boy's got talent. He didn't get that from me. And Felicity, you know, when we discovered, we didn't know that she was the first chair in the chamber orchestra over at Mott. Okay, we didn't know she was first chair, right? And we got there to the concert, and I'm sitting and I'm always looking when she was in junior high in the concerts. They always put her in the back row, and I could never see where she was at. But then I'm looking around and I'm trying to find her, and it was like 5 minutes into the concert that I noticed, well, she's right up front. And I'm thinking, I turned to Laura and said, is she first chair? And she turned to Casey and said, is she first chair? And Casey's going like this, big smile on her face. And we're going, wow. First chair. Violinist. My granddaughter. We were beaming with all kinds of pride that you wouldn't believe. Now, this loving pride in them is like wearing a crown, not just atop our head, but on our heart. In honoring us, it brings genuine happiness to remember the legacy we are privileged to witness and encounter. Now, with my children, I'd always say, now, pride's a sin, and my children humble me. Okay? That changes with grandkids, right? Can I tell you something? The pride in the Bible that is talked about, that that's a sin, is a pride of self. It's that arrogant pride that people have. It's that arrogant pride. See, look at me, see who I am. Ha ha ha. But this pride is different. This pride is looking at my grandkids and seeing what they've accomplished and how they've accomplished it. And basically without my help whatsoever. And can I tell you something? It feels good. Grandchildren continue the family story. Like those pictures on the wall, every family has a story. And we grandparents are the storytellers. We're the ones that share the tales of the past. It's one of the reasons I think Laura hung the pictures on the wall so that they would ask the questions and that we could explain to them who they were and what they did and what they meant to us. It's not just honoring those that have passed away, the things like favorite recipes. That's not it at all. Nor the traditions that we live with. It's about passing down love. It's about passing down wisdom. It's about passing down our faith. Grandchildren are proof that life goes on. And that their effort as parents have made a difference. Grandchildren are a blessing from God. Psalms 127 says, children are a heritage of the Lord. Now, grandchildren are an extra gift. I don't know if you remember, there was a movie a few years ago called Father of the Bride. Then it was Spencer Tracy and Gene Simmons, and Liz Taylor was the daughter. Okay, so after a year or two, they decided to make a sequel, and they called it Father's Little Dividend. And that's what Gene Simmons was explaining to Spencer Tracy. Well, you have to understand, he didn't want to be a he didn't want to give up his daughter. Now he didn't want to be a grandfather. So uh, she goes, now you have to understand, this is a dividend. You invested in your children, and now you're receiving a dividend. Well, that's pretty cool when you come right down and think about it. But you know what? Grandchildren are the blessing from all that you put into your children. God designed the family so that they would love. He designed the family so we could pass on our faith. He designed the family so that we could grow into one unit. Never forget, as a grandparent, you're important to your grandchildren. Don't ever forget that. Your life, faith, and love are the crown shining for all to see. So, grandchildren are the crown to the grandparents. But that verse goes on. And the next part goes like this, that parents, well, it says, the glory of the children are the father. Parents are the glory of their children. Now, what does glory mean here? Well, glory means beauty. In this regard, it also means splendor. It brings honor and pride to a person. In other words, children look up at their parents. Okay, I was a boy, and I tried to calm this down. But you know what? When I was in elementary school, you would not dare to say anything bad about my mother. Now, when I got into high school, it became sport, and that's all you did was ragged on each other's mother. But you didn't. Why? Because that's my mother, and you don't talk bad about my mother. Why? Because I was proud of my mother. My mother was the smartest person I knew. My mother was the most gracious person that I knew. My mother loved me unconditionally. You know, my dad's stronger than your dad. Oh yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, my dad could beat up your dad. Oh yeah, yeah. Who has ever gotten a fight because they were bragging about their father being? No, we're not going to go there. My brother would fight about anything, so he probably did. We think of them as heroes. We think of them as leaders. We think of them as our example. As such, parents need to be role models. You understand what I'm saying? From the time we are born, we watch our parents. They teach us to speak. They teach us to act. They teach us how to treat others by seeing what they do as our parents. Parents teach us right from wrong, how to pray, and how to love others. When children talk about their parents, they often say, "My dad's stronger than your dad," or "My mom's smarter than your mom." Children celebrate their parents and look to them for guidance. Parents are the glory that shines in their children's life. Children take pride in their parents. Have you ever seen a child brag about their mom and dad? This is what the Bible means by glory. Children are proud of their parents and see them as, well, they see them in different eyes than we really are, do they not? It's not about being perfect. Just remember this, okay? Aaron's gone. Aaron's coming back, okay? Uh, Just remember this. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. That's what God expects from you as a parent, just to be there. In fact, that I would say that's the same thing that God expects of grandparents. Just be there. So grandchildren are the crown to a grandparent, and parents are the glory to their children. Finally, families are God's plan for generational blessings. From the beginning of time, families were God's idea. Adam and Eve were the first family. And what did God tell them? He said, "Go, be fruitful and multiply." Every family is special, every family is unique, but all families are meant to show God's love and care. When families love, forgive, and help each other, they are following God's plan. Generations bless each other. Each generation has something valuable to give. Grandparents, you may not think of it, but we have wisdom and we have those stories to pass down. Parents give guidance and protection to their children. Children bring energy, and boy, do they have energy. Am I right, Ruthie? You got a mess over there. You got a lot of energy in that house. What do you got? 4 grandkids in the house now? Isn't God wonderful? And aren't you exhausted? I'm sorry, I had to pick on you a little bit, you know. Uh, they bring energy and hope for the future. When families work together, support each other, and learn from each other, God blessings are multiplied. Proverbs 13 tells us, "A good man leaveth an inheritance to the children, to his children's children, and the wealth of a sinner is laid up for the just." Now, when I look at that word inheritance, it's not just money. What do we leave our grandchildren? Do we leave them our faith? Do we leave them our character? Do we leave them the example of love that they should live by? God wants families to honor each other, Ephesians chapter 6. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is the right. Honor thy father and, excuse me. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and thy mother, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. When we honor our parents and our grandparents, we show God's love in action. When parents and grandparents love and bless their children, they reflect God's care for all of us. Now, Proverbs 17:6 gives us that beautiful picture of what families are meant to be. Grandparents find honor in their grandchildren. Parents are the pride of their children. And God wants each generation to bless the next, to pass down love, faith, and wisdom. Grandchildren are the crown of the grandparents. Honor and love them. Parents are the glory of their children. Look up to them and learn from them. God's plan for the family to love and honor and bless each other, passing down faith from generation to generation. Families are God's gift. Let's treasure them. Let's thank God for them and do our best to show love and honor every day, not just to folks in our family, but basically everyone. You know, I look at those pictures and I think of what my granny, she would tell the story of the man with the golden arm. Anybody remember the story of the man of the golden arm? Okay, I'm saying no. Jim's looking at Sandy. No, I've never heard that one. I should tell it to you someday. But you know what? I have told that to my daughters, except I gave the guy a name. His name is Otis Hambicky because I like the name Otis Hambicky. Okay, and I told it to both of my daughters, and then you know a little while, as it would go on, they said, "Dad, yeah, can you tell us the story of Otis Hambicky?" And so I would tell the story of the man of the golden arm one more time. And then I told it to my grandkids. And whenever they would have kids over for a sleepover, they would ask, "Hey, Dad, can you tell us the story of Otis Hambicky?" Yeah, I can do that. And every time I would tell that story, and I tell it in my own style, I would just remember my great grandmother. She was still with me. And I was able to pass that on to my children. And you know what? Today I pass that story on to my grandchildren. And I'm praying that God will allow me someday to pass that on to my great grandchildren. Yeah, that's what we are as grandparents. You know what? I want to thank God for all he's done. I want to thank God for my family, but I thank God for my grandkids. Let's stand.